Alex, I was out in the barn yesterday trying to convince a piece of white oak that it wanted to be a table leg, and I realized something. My shop smells like 1994, but the world outside is moving at about Mach 2.
Is that your way of saying you finally figured out how to use the laser engraver without setting the smoke alarm off?
Low blow. But no, it's just the pace of things. I'm looking at these headlines for June 26th. By the way, welcome to the TigerDen Daily, folks. And it's wild. We've got tech giants writing nine-figure checks for trade schools and 3D printers that are basically trying to break the sound barrier. It's a strange time to be a guy who still gets excited about a sharp hand plane.
It's a collision of worlds, Tiger. And honestly, I think your 1994 sensibilities are exactly what people need to navigate it. But before we get to the big corporate money, let's talk about your favorite plastic habit. 3D printing is getting a speed boost?
Yeah, Prusa just tossed this new high-speed PLA out into the world. They're claiming a 40% jump in print speed. For anyone who's ever sat there watching a printer nozzle move like a weary snail on a Sunday stroll, that's life-changing.
40% is massive. That's the difference between a project finishing before you go to bed or waking up to a spaghetti monster disaster at 3 o'clock a.m.
Exactly. If you're running a small production gig out of your spare bedroom, 40% more output means you aren't just a hobbyist. You're a microfactory. But, like everything in the shop, there's a trade-off. You can't just floor the gas pedal without making sure the tires can handle the heat.
Which leads us to the materials. You mentioned to me earlier that the old reliable of 3D printing, ABS, is basically getting its retirement papers?
Don't tell my old spools of ABS. I said this, but it's about time. ASA is the new heavyweight champ. It's got all the strength of ABS, but it doesn't turn yellow and brittle the second a stray UV ray hits it. Plus, it doesn't smell like a melting Lego factory when you're printing it.
I've heard the fumes from ABS can be adventurous.
Let's just say there's a reason I used to keep the shop door open even in February. ASA is just more neighborly. It stays where you put it. It doesn't warp as much. And it's actually weather resistant. It's the difference between building a birdhouse that lasts a summer and one your grandkids will have to scrape the moss off of.
Speaking of things that last, let's talk about the workforce. I saw this in the notes, and honestly, I did a double take. Google and Meta are putting hundreds of millions into vocational training? Since when did Silicon Valley care about people who carry a multimeter or a welding torch?
It's a light bulb moment for the suits, Alex. They realize they can design the most sophisticated AI on the planet, but if they don't have anyone who knows how to liquid cool a server rack or wire a three-phase power grid, they're just left with a very expensive paperweight.
50 million from Google for the America's Workforce Academy and a staggering 115 million from Meta. That's not a charity donation. That's a desperate SOS.
It's a correction with a capital C. For decades, we told every kid that if they didn't have a bachelor's degree, they were failing. Now the tech giants are realizing the foundation of the digital world is built on physical labor. They're looking for infrastructure technicians. That's just a fancy, high-tech way of saying the person who can actually fix stuff.
And the employer-sponsored academies you mentioned, that sounds like a golden ticket. They pay for your certification, and you give them a few years of work?
It's the modern apprenticeship, just with better coffee and maybe some Patagonia vests involved. If you're a young person who likes working with your hands, but wants a paycheck that rivals a software engineer's, that's the door you should be kicking down. It's a career path that's actually future-proof because a robot can't crawl under a raised floor and troubleshoot a frayed fiber optic cable in a dark corner. At least not yet.
Well, while Google is building academies, we've got people out here building personal brands. I love that you included Zyla Foxlin in the digest today. She's the perfect bridge between I'm making a rocket and I'm making a video about making a rocket.
She's the real deal. And she proves that master builder and media mogul aren't two separate jobs anymore. If you're a maker in 2026 and you aren't showing the world the sawdust behind the curtain, you're basically a tree falling in a forest with no one around to hear it.
But it's intimidating, Tiger. Most makers I know, you included, can be a bit, let's say, socially reserved in the shop. You want to work, not set up a ring light.
Listen, the glow up is a lie. People don't want the polished infomercial. They want to see the moment you accidentally cut a board an inch too short and have to figure out how to hide the mistake. Authenticity isn't a buzzword. It's just the truth with the lights turned on. That's what Zyla gets right. She shows the struggle.
So your advice for the maker moguls out there isn't to buy a $5,000 camera?
My advice is to just prop your phone up against a glue bottle and hit record while you're working. Show the wood grain, show the sparks, show the frustration. People don't buy things anymore. They buy the story of how that thing survived the person who made it. Engagement is better than reach every single day of the week. I'd rather have 50 people who care about my joinery than 50,000 who just want a discount code.
Spoken like a man who has accidentally glued himself to his workbench more than once.
Hey, that's high engagement content right there. Man versus cyanoacrylate, a 3-hour drama.
Okay, let's get into the DIY mastery section. You've got some projects here that range from I found this in a dumpster to I am a literal artisan. Where should we start?
Let's start with the trash pallets. This one's from Maker Channel. They're taking these gnarly, discarded pallets, the stuff most people wouldn't even use for a bonfire, and they're inlaying actual yard branches into them.
Wait, putting branches into the wood?
It's the ultimate $0 luxury. You take a piece of wood that's destined for the landfill, you carve out a channel that matches the natural curve of a fallen branch from your backyard, and you marry them together. When it's done, it looks like something you'd see in a high-end lodge in Aspen, but the total material cost was a little bit of wood glue and a lot of patience. It's about seeing the value in what everyone else calls debris.
That feels very TigerDen. But then you go from trash pallets to custom snare drums? That sounds like a recipe for a very expensive headache if you get it wrong.
Oh, bending wood is a spiritual experience, Alex. You're essentially telling a solid object that its internal structure is a suggestion, not a rule. This project uses Michigan pine to create a snare drum. Pine is usually considered a construction wood. It's what you build sheds with. But when you tension it right and treat it with respect, it has this warm, punchy tone that's incredible.
Is that something a beginner should try?
Short answer, no. Unless you enjoy the sound of wood snapping like a gunshot at 2 a.m. For the beginner, you look at the BBQ cutting board.
The humble cutting board, the hello world of woodworking.
Don't dismiss it. It's the ultimate gateway drug. It teaches you everything. You learn why grain direction matters, because if you get it wrong, your board will warp into a taco the first time it gets wet. You learn about food-safe finishes, which is basically a lesson in chemistry. And most importantly, it teaches you the value of sanding.
Sanding. Every maker's favorite pastime.
I've spent 20 years trying to find a shortcut for sanding, and all I've found is that there are no shortcuts, only more sandpaper. But there's something meditative about it. You take a rough, splintery mess, and you turn it into something that feels like silk. That's the DIY mastery right there. It's the transition from, what is this, to, I made this.
That's a good place to land. We've covered high-speed plastics, $150 million in career investments, the power of storytelling, and how to turn a palette into a centerpiece. What's the one thing you want people to take into their shops this weekend, Tiger?
I think it's this. Don't be afraid of the new. Whether it's a tech giant offering to pay for your education or a new material like ASA that's replacing your old favorites, change is the only thing that's actually shop tested. If you stay stuck in 1994, as much as I love the smell of it, you're going to miss out on the tools that can actually help you scale your dreams.
Stay gritty, stay creative.
And for Pete's sake, keep your fingers clear of the table saw blade. I like having 10 of them, and you should too.
See you next time at the Tiger Den.